Okay, so we've now talked about all of the different assignments that we can schedule for students. We've talked about quiz creation, we've talked about just general assignments that they can either submit in class or online. We've talked about discussions. Now it's time to talk about the one unifying aspect to those things, grades. So let's go ahead and click on grades and let's go to the grade book. So here's what my current gradebook looks like based on the assignments I've created. And I don't want to go too much into a lot of this yet because I'm going to talk about that in the next tutorial. But what I want to show you is just in general the way that the gradebook works. First, you've got a search bar. So you can actually filter your students by searching for them. So if I were to search for Roger, I don't have a Roger in my class, so it's not going to show up. But if I were to search for test student, then I could quickly get to this student's grade. Now, just so you understand how the gradebook is going to ultimately work, the gradebook in Canvas utilizes what's known as pagination. And what pagination is instead of having to go to the very bottom and choose how many students to show per page, 25, 50, 100, whatever, Canvas is going to do something that's very similar to what you may have seen in Facebook and other kinds of web pages that have a lot of content in a vertical orientation. What pagination is when you get to the bottom of this page and you're done scrolling, Canvas will automatically load the next set of students that are in your course. So it's going to look as though you have this seamless, long and lengthy list of students, but it only loads a certain number of them at a time so that your page loads fast. So if I had 25 students here and I scrolled and I got to the 25th student, the next 25 students would load right after that 25th student. So I'm not going to have to click on anything to say always show this. It's just going to seem relatively seamless as I'm scrolling downward. Okay, so notice columns have been added as I have created these different assignments and quizzes. Now you may notice that it looks like this lab report over here is cut off, and you're not wrong. Each of these columns has a certain width, and these widths can actually be manipulated. So I can hover on a column and I can go to where that column aligns with another one, and I can choose to increase or decrease the size of that column. So I can make my student name column maybe a little longer, but then secondary ID, I don't really care so much about that, so I'm going to shrink it down. That gives me more room for each of these grades. Now, I could also shrink each of these if I wanted to fit them all in, but you can also just scroll in this direction. And you can see that scroll bar down at the bottom. So if I wanted to, I could come down here and grab on that scroll bar, and I could just simply move through my gradebook in that manner as well. Or if you're more comfortable with it, just click on one of these and you can then move through the rest as you need to. The problem with that, of course, is when you get beyond this, you need to go down here, grab that scroll bar, and move over. So the scroll bar ultimately can allow you to quickly move across this gradebook, and if you instead prefer, you can just, as I said, resize this so that each of these is a certain width. And of course, all of your columns would be modified in that manner. Ideally, obviously you're not going to be like me, you're not going to be adding in a bunch of grades simultaneously. You're probably going to be adding in a singular grade for an assignment that you have due. Or in theory, I mean, if that assignment is built into the online portion of your course, then that assignment is ultimately going to be just displayed based on how the student performed according to the rubric or the automatic grading that was built into whatever the assignment was. Okay. All right, so that is the gradebook. Now, in addition to that, let me go ahead and just widen some of these. So I'm going to come over here to this assignment and click on this downward arrow, and you'll notice that you are given a variety of different options when you do that. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the options that we have for our gradebook. Okay?